All right, guys, before we get into today's episode, I do want to preface that there is a trigger warning. We are discussing some infant mortality and all of this stuff that Julia's going through. So I just want to put a trigger warning on this. We did get a little emotional. Caitlin and I really, um, yeah, we went through it a little bit. So I just wanted to put that statement out before we get into the episode today. So if you're not able to talk about that or it's too triggering, then I would go ahead and skip this episode. All right, guys, enjoy this episode. Happy Friday, and I'll talk to you on the next one.
It's time to get real, reality TV aficionados. Welcome to the Giorgio Says podcast. I'm your host, the one and only Giorgio Takanakis, and I'm here serving you the juiciest updates on all your favorite reality shows weekly, as well as the hottest pop culture trends, and even exclusive interviews that will leave you wanting more. This podcast will keep you on the edge of your seat. We definitely need to talk about this. The Giorgio Says podcast starts now.
All right, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Giorgio Says the podcast. And you know it, I've been talking about it. Besties by Bravo podcast host Caitlin Marshall's here with me. She's going to be recapping Miami with me. Thank you so much for being here with me, Caitlin.
Oh, I am more than happy to be here. Thank you for
I need
having
someone
me.
I need to talk about Miami with someone else rather than myself because it's just so emotionally driven. It's a lot of
Yeah.
emotions from laughing to crying to screaming to throwing
Oh
juice
my God.
boxes. We have it all in this episode.
It
And
was a
actually,
very emotional episode.
this really I I'll get into it, but Julia, my heart broke for her.
Oh my God.
Broke for her. Like I totally understand why she felt the way she felt about going to the church and all of that stuff. And then the end when
I
they
mean,
spoke by
I
that.
can, it makes, oh my God. I didn't even expect, it makes me so emotional hearing
Oh, I know.
because it, like her worst fucking nightmare. And, you don't even have to be a parent, but as a mom, that is, oh my God. Like, I don't know how
Mm.
the way she has gone ahead and survived and thrived after that. Oh, y'all, it's just the beginning. And I am
You have no idea how many times I had
that.
to pause the episode because I
Mm,
was hysterically crying. That flashback, which I cried when she shared the story initially, but for some reason this time around, maybe because I know her more being on the show, that
mm.
part, man, where she's like, her son died on her walk. That literally, and I don't have kids, but I can't imagine
And that's a
moving
very
forward.
violent way as well for an infant.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry. I'm not even, I'm not this big of a softie, but this is like,
Oh, I am such a softie. Like, I can't handle this shit. Like, I'm like,
it's horrifying to me. I know it's things, especially with new parents, when you're sleep deprived, and I'm not certainly not excusing anyone ever doing that. You know, I know that feeling of being just at the end of your rope as a parent, but also knowing that it was someone you hired who was supposed to protect your child and care for them. I It's horrifying, and I can absolutely, anyone who's like, "Oh, well, you should have turned to God and blah blah blah." You know what? If you don't know that, that is, I mean, I can't think of anything worse. I can't. I Then something happening to my child. I can't even think about it without. It makes me just completely tailspin. But for her to then go and support the girls who did want to go, she could have easily stayed back with Adriana. I just, because, knowing that she felt that she did try to seek guidance spiritually. And then to feel like she was given silence in return, that feeling is I can't. I can't fathom it, and I think that if anyone had a right to fully break down this episode, and I'm not saying Gertie didn't have a right, I'm not saying Lisa wasn't going through her own shit, that was I've been through that type of thing before that Lisa was going through, not to the extent she is, certainly, but I'm just I don't even know that I wanna say I applaud Julia for keeping it together because I don't want to applaud not being allowed to go ahead and feel your emotions in a raw way when you're feeling them. I just cannot imagine how triggered she must have been. I can't.
I we're gonna get into it, but like
Yeah.
obviously it's a very um it's so easy for people to look at someone who says that about I've opted out of doing church and
Mhm.
religion, but that doesn't necessarily mean she's not spiritual. I think she's just not
Yeah.
subscribing to whatever the church was supposed to do for her. And maybe they weren't there for her in the way that she needed. And so she felt like, well, then screw it. Like I have
Mhm.
all this pain and guilt
Mhm.
because that's really what this is about. When
It's
she said this is
shame.
my watch, I would I don't know what I would do, Caitlin. I really don't. And I might be in jail because I might murder someone. Quite
I
literally.
I would absolutely have murdered someone, 1. 2, I don't know that I could walk the earth after that, and the strength it takes to carry on, it that's just I mean, something people need to realize that is something Julia absolutely thinks about every single day, and shame their guilt and shame are, 2 sides of the same coin, but shame and I think that's more what Julia feels is deep, guttural shame for feeling that it it fell on her shoulders that she wasn't there to protect her son. And, you know, the the shame with that, feeling like you are supposed to be the one person on this planet who just no matter what, that helpless being relies on. It is already hard enough to do it, but my God, when it was something that was actually out of her control, mothers, parents, fathers, caregivers should be able to safely rely on someone who is seeking employment to care for your child. And that's part of why I think a lot of parents will just grit their teeth through that time because that child is so vulnerable. To be able to trust anyone is terrifying. You suddenly are, and I'm not saying because you think someone's going to actually cause harm, but you're side-eyeing your own parents like, well, no, don't give them a bottle with rice in it. They don't, that's not safe. They can't do that. Make sure, because even the way I told you whenever we covered Paris and Love, the number of things that are suddenly so fucking terrifying when you have a newborn. They can't sleep in they're not supposed to sleep in the baby Bjorn. They can't fall asleep in a swing, which sometimes is the only time babies that age will sleep because they could get their chin down and cut off their airway. They're not supposed to sleep in those loungers, the DockATot that a lot of people will let their infants sleep in. There are infants who have passed from sleeping in that. There are so many things, oh my God, that you literally are having to bear the brunt. Babies that age, they have to sleep on their back. And not everyone believes in it, but it's the Moro reflex. They have to be swaddled or in something that's called a Merlin suit, which is a godsend, but because they are literally jolting all the time and it's a reflex from when they were in the womb that they're still having to adjust to being outside of your body. It's so much that can go wrong. And it's like that's why it's even more of a nightmare that you already know there's so much that can go wrong and then it did. So I applaud Julia for being supportive of the other women who were really wanting to seek that. And Catholicism is a different, there are different
Judgmental.
branches. Yeah,
very
Catholicism
judgmental
is very
religion.
different because you're not even, and I'm not trying to make it sound like I'm knocking Catholicism, but you're praying to, you're you're having to, in that belief, obviously we all know you're supposed to pray to the liaison deity instead of God. And for them, I guess, with their specific branch of Catholicism, it's Guadalupe, which I'm assuming that, I mean, that's the same thing as Mary.
Yeah, it
Um,
is.
yeah, I noticed when Alexia said that uh, Guadalupe was Jesus's mother. Um,
They
I
sometimes
didn't know
will
that.
make like, I know I grew up Orthodox, obviously, 'cause my family's Greek, and so they make a huge sometimes it's even a bigger deal than, like, Jesus for,
Mhm,
like, the
yes.
Virgin Mary, because, like, August 15th, for instance, is allegedly her birthday, and that there's a huge, like, parade in Greece, and
Mhm.
it's all about the Virgin Mary, and I do know that she has a connection with people because I've read tons of stories where people have encountered her in like
Mhm.
sort of spiritual form and they've claimed that she's healing and that she's done all these things. So I as much as I appreciate Alexia doing that, I also can appreciate that this isn't something that Julia is going to get anything out of
Well,
because
yeah.
well, maybe she will. I don't know. It felt in the moment that she was really trying
Yeah,
to keep an open mind.
absolutely.
Um, but yeah, again, I will definitely be putting a trigger warning on this episode,
Oh,
guys,
yes,
because
yes.
it is going there is some parts that we're going to talk about that is going to be triggering because I'm sure a lot of you may relate to this, maybe not in detail, but it's triggering, I'm sure. So, but before that, we catch up finally. Um, Actually, we need to get into some quick tea before we get into the recap
Oh,
because
yes.
when we were on your podcast, something actually did come up. It's not the biggest news, but it is more of an update. So let's get into some quick tea. All right. So we basically have some news, an update on Real Housewives of Atlanta. So I don't know how you're going to feel about this, Caitlin, but
Hmm.
there's no update, is the update. We are still
Oh,
on pause. Yep.
shit.
No one has received a contract. No one is even remotely being approached. There's no word of anything. People are speculating that perhaps Bravo is putting their energy in trying to get Nene to come back. And once they do that, they maybe they'll solidify. But I said this to you before we jumped on when I saw it, Caitlin, that I'm worried that this is going to go in the Roni direction. And we know
Mhm.
how that worked out, right?
Yep.
What what do we need to do here? What are the missing puzzle pieces for Atlanta? Why do we think they're taking so long?
Branch out into their actual friend group. Bring back Nene, bring back Portia. We need to have Kenya. Go ahead and keep Candy. She keeps it elevated, okay?
She's expensive though. That was part of the issue.
Well,
She's
then
2 million I think a seat. That's a lot of money. Good for her, but like damn.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I just have a hard time letting go of Candy. That's probably just me personally. You know what? We got to get rid of Sonia. Drew's got to go. Marlo, she can be a friend of if Nene is there, but Marlo having the full time Peach, it's just not working. And they need to branch out into that friend group. I always say this: if they could bring back also Claudia Jordan, honey, yes, that she brought it when she came on there. We don't need Phaedra. Phaedra is in such a different phase in her life. I don't know. I've tried to get into Married to Medicine. I don't know why I can't fully get into it. Maybe because I don't have the time completely, but I'm not hearing that she feels totally in place there. I know we are loving her on Traders, but I feel like Phaedra's her strong point is when she is making her cameos, and we get some of that. But the only other thing is if they fully go that Roni route, do the RHOA legacy and put them on a girls trip, because I also don't know that I see Nene being willing to come back full time for a full season. I think she would maybe want to give it a chance with like a girls trip or something like that, but it's Nene. We need more than just a girls trip of her. So,
I don't care what they need to do. She needs to come back. She's got
yeah,
to come back to her house and she's got to clean up this mess because
agreed.
whoever's left on the, let's be honest, I love Candy, but Candy's not really doing much for the show. She shows up to film. We can't talk about what's going on in her real life. We
Mhm.
learned that last season. She's making a lot of money, so obviously she's not going to turn that check down. Why would she?
Yeah.
We need fresh blood, but
Yeah.
not completely fresh. We do need to keep some of the OGs because I think
Keep
I've heard
Kenya.
too that Roni, the new one, is also trying to maybe bring in an
Mhm.
OG to kind of anchor it a little bit more. So,
Sonia, I think, yeah.
yeah, like I think Atlanta just first of all, this should have happened 2 seasons ago in my opinion with
Yeah.
Atlanta, but they
Yeah.
waited until it burned completely out before people decided to make any changes. So,
Mhm.
there's a little bit of that in there too, but I don't know. It's been a long time and usually by now they would have started filming,
Mhm.
if not been close to halfway through. I don't know, guys. I don't know if we're gonna get in Atlanta anytime soon,
Mhm.
but I will say if Nene comes back, it will be worth the wait
Agreed.
because I think there's a lot of people that would champion that happening. And
Yeah.
considering, you know, she's not the only person from the Bravo world now that has put out a lawsuit against them.
Yeah,
Shouldn't
exactly.
be isolating her. Anyways, so that was the quick tea, guys. We do want to get into recapping Miami. There was a lot of emotions in this episode.
God.
A lot. So
Mhm. Mhm.
let's take a quick break and we're going to jump right into the recap. Golly Nutrition is an inventive, people focused nutrition company committed to providing innovative products that make taking your daily supplements simple and delicious. Their products are formulated with quality ingredients you can pronounce and flavors your taste buds will absolutely enjoy. And at the core of it all, they lead with purpose. Golly for Good is an initiative committed to playing a profound role in supporting the health of our planet as well as our local communities. Learn more about their initiatives, such as B Corp certification, Vitamin Angels partnership, and Eden reforestation projects at their Golly for Good page. And if you use my special code, The Giorgio Says, at checkout, you will receive a special discount. Now let's get back into the episode. All right. Thanks, guys, for sticking around. I really appreciate it. So, we kind of talked a little bit about something triggering that was regarding Julia, but we're going to start from the top because Dr. Nicole finally, this woman never is not working.
That's the doctor life, honey.
I mean, I love it though. She jumped on a red eye. They showed her getting there, getting walked into her room, and then right next morning, she's right back into the swing of it and doesn't even look like she missed an ounce of sleep.
Unfair.
So unfair because even with the good lighting, some days I look back at my stuff and I'm like, damn, you look tired.
Oh my god. I would have had bags under my eyes so large you could have put a D cup on them. There's no way. No way.
And sometimes, as much as I love those eye patches,
They don't do
those
it.
don't always do it.
Mm-mm.
They're not the quick fix.
They're not miracle
Nonetheless,
workers.
so she's there to get up to speed on all the tea, anything that she missed. Um, this is the day that Alexia has planned for the ladies to go visit the church and
Mhm.
for Gertie specifically because of everything that she's going through to be able to experience that because Alexia knows how much that impacted her situation with her son in the accident and how good it was for all of them because she even says like I would not have been able to get through any of that if I
Yeah.
didn't lean on Guadalupe, which is essentially, guys, the Virgin Mary, which they kind of clarify a little bit
Mhm.
in the episode, but just in case you guys are wondering, it's the Virgin Mary. They just refer to her as Guadalupe.
Yes.
But this moment when I don't understand this with some of them. Like, Lisa Hochstein, I'm talking to you, babes. These women, they get off the elevator, and I'm like, where are you guys going? Have you never gone to church? Caitlin.
Even if you haven't gone to
Seriously?
church, you know what church clothes are. It doesn't have to necessarily be job interview conservative,
No,
but for
but
the love of God, you don't
what's
need a
what
crop top to go
no.
pray.
And also, okay, fine. Larsa was pushing it with her top, but she brought a sweater. She already knew. So
Yes.
but then Lisa gets off the elevator, like, what are you she's wearing a cropped, like, skeletal, like, see-through top, and it's like, we're going to church.
Yeah, and you already have a man, so what are you doing? I mean, you don't have to be dressing sexy for a man. However,
Or Guadalupe. She doesn't wanna see all that, frankly.
no, honey, she
We know
doesn't
you have a
yet.
banging body, girl. You could come out in a potato sack, and no one would question that you have a banging body. That is one thing about Lisa Hot. She works out and she looks
Yes.
amazing. Godspeed. But like in God's house, do you need to prove it to him too?
I'm
It's
just like Giorgio, I'm just imagining at the very least, like the church I grew up going to in Oklahoma, it was very casual. You could wear jeans to church on a Sunday. I didn't, but and I'm even
never
just
be
trying
allowed.
to imagine seeing those women walk in, and this is very specific to the church, to Life Church in Oklahoma. Oh my God. I just the visual of like how every single head in that church would have been on a swivel, just spun around like The Exorcist. Seeing that.
When it was time for us to go to church, my mom was a micromanaging psycho, making sure no one was dressed inappropriately. The women could not wear pants. Nope, nope, nope. You're not
Mhm.
wearing pants to church because it's so archaic and like
Yeah. Well,
old
it's
school. But
Orthodox.
like,
Yeah.
I'm not going that far with it, but like the top, that top in particular, that was not a church top. And I hope like someone had to have said something to her that was helping her get right. Like, are you sure you want to wear that to
I
church?
mean, if even Alexia is like, "God damn, girls, like, what are you?" Because Alexia is not like she's not conservative like that. She's
No.
not. She's not going to be on top of you like that. But if even she's like, "Wow, where do you
Well, I
think we're
have a
going?"
cardigan. Like, then just put a full on top on. What's with this? Like, I'm going to throw this cardigan on when we go in there. It's like, you could still wear something really cute and like I don't know. I don't think you should be looking for like a look that's sexy when you're going to church.
Hit up Chanel, okay?
Yeah,
Hit up
tweed. Well, it's probably hot.
yes. Well, but even Chanel, like, listen, there's plenty of stuff out there. The Go for the preppy chic just to change your look up for a second. Even some nice linen pants, a nice like knee length dress would even if it were tight, that's fine. But like I don't know. And I don't feel like you and I are very stuffy about things like that.
No, not at all. But I know what the audience is, and I'm not gonna just go in. Like, listen, I've
No.
been Jeff has come at me like when we moved back from New York, we had to go buy a car. And I was like going to like film at Sir. I came in with like my like pants
Yeah,
and the boots and the leather jacket. And he's like, "Where the fuck are you going? We're going to buy
I
a car.
mean,
You're not walking in there like that. They're gonna think that we're gonna be like run over when it's time to negotiate, you know?" And I was like, "Really? Like it's 2018. Are we
and
be still
listen,
what did
Giorgio's
you
sitting here with
like?
his titties out too. I mean,
My
he
tits are out, guys. Trigger warning."
yeah. He's going full J-Lo at this point. So we are not judgy wudgy
And I don't have
bears.
tape either, so I'm really risking it all.
Oh, hey, that save it for the OF with that nip
Oh
slip.
man, listen, the amount of times during the pandemic when I saw everyone and their mom starting one of those, I was like, how can I get in on this without exposing myself that way?
Ain't no
Just
way,
I couldn't
honey.
bring myself to it.
Even feet
Um,
pics can't just be feet pics. So sadly,
it's not enough.
never.
So I don't
Believe
care
me, I've
what
looked into it.
everyone says that they're just selling feet pics and they're making 30,000 a month. No, you're not.
No, no, I
You're
have
using
seen
those feet on cucumbers and like doing some other things,
putting them
not
tied
taking
up
pics.
behind your bare butt and stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
So, not my business venture, but I will say that there was a moment where there might be some hope for Gertie and Larsa, because when
Yes.
we get to the church, it's well, first of all, let me back up because Julia has a major setback with doing this. So
Mhm.
I applaud her for going because we know that Adriana did not go because she had a show, even though her rehearsal was shit, and she should have stayed in rehearsals, in my opinion. I don't know what she was doing. Poor
Oh.
Kiki was like, "Why am I here? Bitch, you're not even doing anything. You need to keep
Yeah.
practicing, ho."
Yeah. Practice
But
those lifts. Move your hips, bitch.
I'm like, okay, well, Adriana's not going, so that seems to be okay because she's got a show. If listen, I would have totally understood if Julia sat back. I think you agree. Like,
Mhm.
this was not something that she was going to resonate with necessarily. It didn't work
Right.
for her when it was in her time of need. So I understand why she was hesitant, but it was brave of her to go nonetheless.
Mhm. Mhm.
Because also, guys, it's not just the religion part of it. When you understand the trauma that is what she went through, it's not just her going to church because she's out of the religion and doesn't buy into it. It
Or just mad
probably
at
brings
God.
up more triggers and trauma that
Exactly.
is just never going to go away. So why would you put yourself in a position or an environment in which that would resurface? And she's
Mhm.
filming a show, and that's quite hard to show all these different vulnerabilities, right? We all say we would do this, do that, but like if I was like I always say this about like I was sobbing when they were all there praying.
Mhm.
You could just feel everyone there was they needed something. They needed
Mhm.
something poured back into them.
Yeah.
And we get this moment where they get up to the uh I guess I don't want to call it a pulpit, but it was like
No,
a barrier where they could kneel and
eyes
pray.
watering.
And you Gertie instantly is emotional.
Mhm.
Guys, I'm sorry, I might cry during this episode because
Mhm.
it was just heartbreaking because she's going through something in real time and she feels alone in some ways, but she's trying to live her life and she's trying to still film the show. And there's this moment where she's next to Larsa, and you just have this small peek of Larsa reaching for her hand. And they
Mhm.
don't say anything, but it's just this silent moment of like, there's nothing that needs to be said. And
Right.
maybe that's the support that Larsa needs. Because I saw Larsa differently in this episode. I know we all are not
I
a
did too.
fan of Larsa, but like,
Mhm.
man, that was like really sorry guys.
Well, it was the moment that Gertie started saying, "I'm scared."
Yeah. Like it was like this
Yeah,
instinct, like almost like Larsa was like her big sister in the moment. And it was just
exactly.
kind of like not saying it's gonna be okay, but like holding on to her to let her know, like, I'm here nonetheless, and you don't have to feel like scared and alone because we're here together, you know? So
It
that was
was like
touching.
it was like the mother side of Larsa that we never see.
Yes, and
Mhm.
I remember thinking in the moment, "Man, stop. I can't stop once I
Mhm.
start," you know?
I
Anyways,
know.
um, she has a moment also, Julia has a moment, and you see her tearing up, but I feel heartbroken for her because it's not the same tears.
Mm.
It's like a reminder of
She's
something that
mourning
she
tears.
can't undo.
Mhm.
Okay. And it just I don't know, the show just hits me different. They're so raw with their emotions on the show,
Mhm.
whether they're angry, whether they're laughing, or they're going through something. I
Yeah.
It's so riveting to watch because it's like, wow, you guys are really you're putting it out there and you don't
Yeah.
have to, you know? So like it's
Yeah.
just
Mhm.
it was a roller coaster of emotions, that church scene.
The whole
Uh,
episode was.
oh my gosh.
The way from start to finish and the where I mean, we ended somehow on top, but not. So, yeah. It was a roller
That's the thing
coaster.
about Miami. You always think like, oh, we got over this hump. And it's like, but you never know. There's like 7 fights that happen in one of the scenes where it's like
Yeah.
not normal for housewives, where it's like usually there's 2 that are going to go at it at this dinner.
Yeah, they
And
take
anybody else
turns.
that got into it gets cut out. They just say, leave it all in Miami. They're going to
Mhm.
start fighting. They're going to start crying. And then they're going to start kissing. Like they're all just going to be doing all of this at the same time.
Julia's gonna start sharing her lip gloss with someone else.
The fact that Julia and Kiki were kissing to get gloss on the lips was just chef's kiss. I love this show so much more for that.
I know. Oh my god.
But we have, this big moment where now they've gone to the church and I guess I don't remember if it's the same day that they go onto the boat.
I
I
think
think
it
it
is.
is. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
they
Adriana does
changed.
make her way to the boat, which I'm
Oh,
like,
so
but
you
you
have
came
the
from the
energy for that.
church, you came for the boat.
Mhm.
Um, but on the way there, Gertie talks about the experience with Larsa to
Mhm.
Nicole.
Mhm.
And, I think Larsa is such a tough cookie because perhaps being around the Kardashians for so long and having to keep such a, because I would imagine if you're friends with the Kardashians, there's always someone watching you. You know what I'm
Oh,
saying?
yeah.
So she's very guarded, is my point.
Uh-huh.
And in being guarded, she can come off very cold and aloof and like she doesn't care, but she does. Like things do impact her, but she does a
Mhm.
really good job at making it like she's got a good poker face. You don't really know what's registering with her.
For
Um
a lot of reasons, but
well, yes. Yes. And I knew she was crying as well because they kind of
Mhm.
hinted at it. They didn't show her crying, but like you could just tell she was emotional about something.
Yeah.
But you know, Alexia puts this beautiful situation together where they have this boat ride and it's the was it Miami
M
Mamacitas?
Miami Mamas or
It's like
maybe
Miami
Mamacitas.
Mama somethings, like
Yeah. Yeah.
something or another. Which by the way, I also did not know that those boats were not powered.
That is wild. That poor man trying to oh my
All
god.
those people on that boat with that one stick, and as Lisa says, it doesn't even have a spoon at the bottom of it.
I don't understand it.
So are you just literally like digging it in and then just
There has to be
I
some
would be
sort of
like,
like, um, oh my god, see, this shows you how much I like rotary.
you tell we're not boat people.
You know what I'm talking about? Those boats. They're older and they have like the
Oh,
wheel thing at the back to maybe
oh
help
yeah, yeah,
keep the
yeah. It kind of keeps the
momentum.
water moving or something so that it keeps
Yeah, I'm hoping they have some sort of wow, we really are
we really don't know what we're talking
nautical
about.
experts here.
You know
We
that thing on the back that they used
like
to have? Like
spinny thing?
sure, Jan.
Yeah,
There was a
whatever.
fuck ton of people on this boat though, so it was like
Because
and
between
like
like it's not just the women, it's the crew too.
with their heavy ass cameras,
Oh my god.
insane. But shout out to that guy
For real.
because he put up with a ton of shit on that boat ride.
Oh, he was listen, Linda. Uh, he was getting a lot more disculpes than he deserved more than Alexia was giving him. Okay, um, like oh my god, because I'm sure he's used to having maybe that many people that were just the women, but with the equipment, I have a feeling like it wasn't what he's used to. And even when Lisa was like, oh my god, you're so red,"
Well,
with her
yeah.
little Powerpuff Girl voice. But like, I mean, God bless him. They better have left him one of those below deck type of tips. Is all I'm saying.
I hope he got paid very well.
Yes.
Very well. Because that I don't even know how he was even making that boat move.
Mm-mm. And then when they're to turn it around, like, ma'am, how easily do you think this boat turned around?
Well,
What?
let's first of all, let's
Like,
back up before we get
backtrack.
into this
Yeah.
mess because Lisa Hochstein
is still dealing with Lenny's ass, trying to settle this
Oh,
whole thing. I listen, I can appreciate that everything that Lisa's going through is traumatic and crazy and excessive and out of this world. But it is literally the only thing that she can talk about.
oh my God. Oh my God.
Like, Lisa, I love you, my love, but is there nothing else you can share? Can we hear more about you and Jody? Can we like not make every talking point? Lenny did this. Lenny asked for this, but he won't put it in writing. I'm looking at houses, but I don't know what I can afford. Like, it's really getting out of control. Because, I'll be honest with you, Caitlin, in the beginning of this, when I saw the previews of Kiki being harsh about it, I was like, damn,
Mhm.
that's really hard. But now I'm like, bitch, I'm right there.
Yeah, same.
You are.
Honestly, same. Like, Lisa, for the love of God, it's just kind of like she God bless her. She showed a lot of her cards this episode. And
Oh, yeah.
we love you, Lisa. We do. That being said, ooh, we saw the way you argue and fight and mm-mm. But aside from that, can you imagine how tired Jody is of hearing the goddamn name Lenny?
These women have been telling her
They have. They're trying, and they've been very kind about
since
it.
episode one. They're like, you better stop talking about him to Jody because you're going to burn him out and he's going to resent you. But I will say this about Lisa. She's one of those people that when she's going through something, she don't give a fuck about what anyone else is dealing with. It's all
Right.
about her problem, and that's front and center always. So I do understand why some of the other women are like, okay, enough. Like we know, we read the
We've got
article.
one over here with breast cancer, who's already had 2 surgeries. We've got one over here whose son has been in a horrific accident. We've got one over here that's dealing with triggers from infant loss. We don't even know what all Kiki is dealing with right now, but we do know she's been through a lot in her life. My God. We've got Adriana who I don't know. She's probably going to stub her toe and say it's broken and whatever. And it's just kind of like yikes. She
This episode really was like, I was there. I understood. I was like,
yeah,
enough. I
felt
am
it.
done with
Felt it.
this Lenny talk. Sign the fucking paper. I don't even care what you get out of the deal now. You have been taking so long to come up with a deal with him. You have a lawyer for a reason. Get a better one then.
Well, and it's all she clearly doesn't grasp that the longer she takes, the more she keeps him on the phone, the more she keeps saying she's going to call him. That is another billable hour, Lisa. Stop it.
That's why Lenny, I think, called her directly
Oh,
because
yeah.
he probably was like, I'm not getting, because he's going to have to pay for most of those legal fees because that's probably part of the deal, which rightfully so. You're a piece of shit. You should pay for every fucking thing.
Mhm.
But I don't think she should have been holding out for him to build a house. And then when we find out what their conversation was, because of course we had to get the title cards that said Lenny did not agree to film or record this conversation. So we just see her get on this sprinter van and then she's like, sorry guys, I'm not going to really be paying attention because I need to look over this like new settlement thing. And then what seems to be 5 minutes into it, she's like, I signed it.
Yeah, exactly.
What?
So, and here was the thing that I want to talk to you about too, Georgia. So the whole thing where Lenny said she can't have another male residing with her. Now, for him to say ever, that no, you can't do that, period. What you can do, and that I would have actually been in agreement with, is that you need to have documentation and proof that you have been in a relationship with this person for at least, let's say, a year. A lot of people will put in stipulations that you can't, if they have children, you can't introduce any new partners to the children unless you've been dating for X amount of time. That's understandable because you want to make sure your kids are in a safe environment. But that's not what he was doing at all. He still wanted to control her getting to have someone live with her. Yet when it's his girlfriend, now fiance, it's totally different.
Well, because he said to her, he's the one paying for everything, so he can make that decision. This is why Larsa has always been like, maybe you live below your means so that you can have independence, so that no one has a thumb over you. But you keep
Exactly.
going back to the lion's den and coming out of it screaming and crying like you're shocked. Why are you shocked about this? He was in your face doing this, and you chose, and I'm sorry, but she knew
He had an
something was
idea.
up.
And this isn't the first time he's done this at
No.
all.
Remember the emotional affair when they
Right.
rebooted this season or the franchise rather? Yeah, there's
Mhm.
been stuff. And he never seemed like he was into her from the beginning of this franchise starting. Even in the
Never.
like the very beginning, he was a dick to her. He just got more of a dick as time went on, it seemed.
He always treated her like garbage.
Like,
Always.
what was he with her for? I never understood this. Like he almost loathed her.
Yeah, I mean, it was like I think for him, maybe this is my armchair quarterback. He just liked the idea that this beautiful woman could be controlled by him, at least financially, because she is a feisty little spitfire, but she would pretty much take a lot of what he would say and do. But she would fight back a lot, but no matter what, she would always have to relent. And I think he loved that. I think he liked having that fight and feeling like it wasn't so easy to control her. And I think he's somewhere back in there. They're both like getting off on this a little bit because they are a couple that always fought. We know this.
I was just gonna say, I think their relationship was kind of built on that toxicity, and that
Mhm.
kind of got, to your point, got them off, and still is getting them off to some extent.
Mhm.
Um, but the fact that she signed it, it was like, well, then why did this take so long? You literally spent what seemed to be 5 minutes scanning whatever document came through, and you're like, signed, because she really I understand she wants this to be done, but what she doesn't realize is that when he has those types of stipulations, like to your earlier point, it is more understandable if it were to be like, oh, no one can live in that house until you're about to get married, because
Yes.
that's understandable. Like with we're seeing that with Sutton. I mean, Sutton's getting a lot of money, so I would be like,
Right.
yeah, I'm not marrying anybody ever.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
I'll always have a friend, but
There you go.
this situation is obviously not Sutton's situation, but
No.
he literally is quite literally like, "You're never allowed to be with anyone ever again if you get this house." It's like, really, is the house worth whatever stipulation that's gonna be put on? Like, so
Yeah.
does that mean no one can also stay at the house? Because if you're saying they can't be around your kids, well, you brought the mistress around your kids quite early.
That's exactly. If he hadn't done that, he might have had some sort of a teensy tiny little leg to
Maybe,
stand on, like a hair.
yeah,
But no, the bitch is, I'm sorry, I'm calling her a bitch because she knew
she
what she was doing the
is.
whole fucking time. I'm sorry. I can't stand.
She's still prancing around that Star Island home, Caitlin, like it's hers. It's really wild how they have this much audacity. It's insane. If I was gonna go wreck someone's home, it would not be in public, and it would not be. I wouldn't be filming shit in that house for my Instagram, getting glam in Lisa's old closet like a fucking clown.
How embarrassing. I would be like, get us the hell out of this house. And not that I would ever get myself into that position, because that is something that you have an option to get
Yeah,
yourself
she
in
didn't
or
have.
not. Whether even if it started out as something that you didn't know, maybe this person was married in a relationship. Once you find out, that's when you can say, nope, you end that and then we'll talk. But no, this, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna call her, but this dumb bitch still went along with it. Okay.
I'll say it. She's a
The
dumb
Oklahoma
bitch
coming out in
who
me.
went in for the kill, got her prey, and now she thinks she's the queen of the throne. And let me tell you something, Lenny will get tired of your ass too, because you know what? You're perpetuating this ego trip that he's on,
Yep.
and maybe she's benefiting by doing so because I don't really think she's really into Lenny like that. Um, because give me a break.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry. This isn't even just about looks. It's also the age difference, the different views that they seem to have that she has professed to have. She's very pro animal, and I'm not saying Lenny is not, but it just doesn't. just even their values, except for this one in particular, don't seem to vibe. You know what I'm saying?
No, they
Like,
don't. How do they even? What do you have in
what
common?
do you talk about? Oh my God, you're so hot. I am. I am so hot.
Hot for
You're
you.
so hot. I'm so hot. What else?
What are you using? Her old? Are you using Lisa's glam team and hair people too?
Probably.
Like
Probably.
it's just a joke, but nonetheless, she signed this deal, this settlement, and she gets emotional about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, which one do
Mm.
we want here, honey? It's not even the divorce papers.
No,
Not even the divorce papers. You should just be glad this one because this
that
Larsa,
should be the hurdle.
this
Yeah.
is the biggest part of the divorce is the settlement part. It's not signing the divorce papers, it's splitting up the
The
assets.
judge has not stamped it. Like I did not understand. Yeah. Hmm.
She is she's something else, that Lisa Hochstein. I'll say that. And I
Hmm.
love her. Don't get me wrong. Don't take this. I'm not hating on her.
No,
It's
we're not at
just
all.
I would say this to my friend. Like,
Oh
girl,
yeah.
get a
No, if it were me, you'd be like, babe, I'm gonna need you to move on from it. I love you,
1000%.
but if you want, I cannot listen to another second of this. Is what you would say to me. You're like, and
I
I don't
had
think you want
a
to live that way.
girlfriend like this
Mm,
eons ago. We were friends for 8 years. She was a toxic human being at that point, but she was the same way. Every little thing ate her up,
hmm.
and it was all she could talk about. All of it, and it would be the same thing over and over and over, and I can't tell you how many nights we sat on the phone for 6 to 7 hours.
Oh my God.
This guy did this, and I texted, and he didn't text this back, so what does this mean? And she would sit there, like,
Uh huh.
quite literally obsessing and analyzing to the point, and I'm very analytical, but even I was like, "Girl, you are way down the rabbit hole here. I don't think he's even thinking that deeply about it."
I had a friend like that too. Oh my God.
They drain your soul.
Oh, it's like if I have to hear that person's name one more goddamn time. Oh, if you are gonna have to talk about them, you better come up with a new code name because I cannot hear that name again.
But anyways, so we finally get on the boat. Adriana shows up for what she thinks is probably the best part,
Yeah.
um, conveniently. And so they get on the boat. This poor gentleman has to shove a stick into the water to move all 1,000 of the people that are probably
Yeah.
on this boat outside of the cast. And, everything seems pretty chill. And then things, like always, start going left really fast. And it took me a minute to realize I was like, oh my God, what is
I
going on?
know.
There's like 7 different conversations happening, and they're showing all of them to us at the same time. And then before you know it, this is where Kiki, I think, really was, she was done.
She'd had it.
When they float by that house
Mm-hmm.
and the
Mm-hmm.
comments that are being made, listen, if you remember Kiki explaining her story, like, we, first of all, some of this cast act like they've been rich their entire life and have never seen anything less than a Star Island home
Right.
or a penthouse condo in the sky, okay? Let's keep it straight, ladies. Not all of you were birthed with wealth. Some of you
Mm.
married into it. Some
Yep.
of you, you know what? I'm not going to go there.
Yeah. Don't. I
I
know where
will
you're
just
going.
say this. A lot of you sit on a high horse that you did not purchase, and you're looking down for the wrong reasons when you should be humbled to know that not everyone wants that. Just culturally speaking,
Yes.
this is not America. And so that to an American may look sad, but like also why? How do we know that those people living there aren't fucking happier than
Any one of them.
any one of you,
Yeah.
quite
Agreed.
frankly?
Agreed. It's like they haven't left, some of them have not left their bubble enough in so long that they can't even recognize when it's so wildly inappropriate to even comment. Don't even fucking comment at that point. Like, what the hell? Unless you are trying to bring, a spotlight on something that is an issue that people could help with, but what were you doing? I
But you
mean,
don't know the people that live in that house. So why, like, again, what,
exactly.
like, you don't have to voice everything that comes into your head. Okay. Take it from me.
And me. We're
Seriously, because I'm like,
podcasters, we
wait,
do.
why is that like that? And I was like, really? Did you need to say that? No, I didn't need to, but I felt the need to. The
Uh,
point is that Kiki is already on. You can tell she's on the edge with Lisa and this whole Lenny thing already because she feels
mhm.
like it's okay, girl. There are real bigger problems happening in other people's lives, and you are so stuck on this. And I understand this is difficult, but we then get to the part of this house that everyone felt sorry for and saw these dogs that Lisa's decided, oh my God, those dogs probably are starving. Let me throw, let me throw some sandwiches at these dogs
That half don't
and
even
miss.
reach them.
That did it landed right in the water, which that's a whole other problem because now you're literally throwing your food in the water.
Littering.
Disgusting, as Lisa Barlow would say.
Disgusting.
Sick. Um, so she does it not once, but twice, and then triples down on why she did it because she was trying to help the hungry dogs and do something nice. What in your right mind did you look? Those dogs didn't even look emaciated.
They were not at all.
They were fine. They were
They were
happy
eating
and
well.
healthy, and they were outside, and they were like living their best life. But for some reason, Lisa thought if she, I don't know if she was doing it for a moment, like, on
Of course she
camera, like
was.
trying to create a moment. It completely backfired on her
Yeah.
because Kiki, everyone was like, okay, you can't do, like, you've got to stop. Sit down, stop throwing your food over. It's not even reaching the dogs. Now you're pissing them off.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she has the nerve
Oh.
to get up and yell at Kiki.
Girl, I'm going to tell you what. If a woman looks at you and says, "Do not stand up at me," pointing your finger at me because I'll show you what I'm going to do, then maybe you're not realizing the way you're coming off. Stop for a second. And I mean, truly, if you're doing this over throwing sandwiches to dogs who actually look like they weigh more than you, let's take a pause, because when she then stood up and was like, "Okay, I'm standing up now. What are you going to do?" Ma'am, I'm going to tell you what usually happens. You're lucky that was on camera and that Kiki's not the type to straight up smack the shit out of you. But even Larsa was like, "No, girl, don't do that."
Because Larsa even knows if you stand up and someone tells you don't do that,
Yeah,
then you're asking for it. Like, she was doing too much in
it
this
was
moment.
giving spoiled brat, is what it was giving.
Yes, it was like a bratty teenage girl that did not get her shit at Sephora, and now she's going to make everyone's life a living hell.
That drunk elephant is going to ruin her life if she doesn't have it.
I just don't understand. And again, guys, I'm not trying to hate on Lisa. And Lisa, if you
No,
this, I'm
this was
not
a
hating
rough
on you, girl.
episode.
I'm just recapping the episode, and you didn't look that great in it. I'm just saying.
Yeah, it was a
But
rough episode for her.
it was not good at all. But I'm sorry if you stand up at me like that. If I smack the shit out of you, I will take the charge because you deserved it. I'm serious. I
Put
don't
it
play
on my
that
bill.
game. I will yell at you from across the table all the night long, and that's fine. But the minute you stand up to me, you're telling me you want to get physical. So
That's a
now I'm going to
physical
go into
reaction.
yeah, I'm going to defend myself. She was letting you know that this is inappropriate behavior for a number of reasons, not because you're just giving table food to a dog. You are literally spitting on whoever lives in that house and just assuming that they don't feed their dog.
And if there was an onion in that sandwich, that dog could have died.
Hello.
Just want to say.
Also, Kiki
Or
made a good
avocado.
point. This is coming from someone who doesn't even feed her own fucking dog.
Mm-hmm.
Do you even know your dog's name, Lisa? Okay, I'm gonna stop.
What
I'm just saying.
does your dog get fed?
Like, do you even know?
And a lot
And
of
now
dogs
you're
are allergic to
concerned
chicken.
about these dogs. Like, what are you trying to show here? You don't even have a fucking pot to piss in.
Hmm.
Those dogs are living better than you, my dear. They have a house. They don't have Lenny rubbing them up against the wall and
They're
threatening them.
free
And
birdies.
yeah, like
They
living the
are.
best life. And also travel more
Yeah.
and leave your Four Seasons hotel and go into town for once. Then maybe you
Truly.
so ignorant to these things. God, I'm so grateful that we travel and go and stay in the thick of things because that's the whole point of traveling. It's nice to go stay at a Four Seasons for a night or two, but if you're not experiencing a
Mm,
real culture, which is
yeah.
this is what this is that Alexia
Mhm.
put together. I mean, even the guy that was moving the boat was like, no, 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 you can't do that. Like, quite literally stop doing that because you could get in legal
Yeah.
trouble because again, you didn't even throw it to the dogs for them to get it. You threw it in the water, not once, but twice, and then stood up twice and tried to act like you were going to be big and bad with Kiki. And then Kiki, now this is what I don't understand. Where the fuck did Kiki get a juice box from? But she clearly brought a juice box with her and she chucked it over at Lisa. I don't think it hit her. I think it just grazed by her and she
She
was
shouldn't have thrown it,
already
but a napkin would have been a better option for that. But yeah, she'd been pushed to her limit. She was at the brink of her own
Look, if Lisa
sanity.
Rinna can bust a wine glass on a table and fucking throw it, then a juice box ain't shit. The most
True.
that would happen is you get a little paper cut on your forehead. You'll be
I
okay.
still can't believe Lisa Rinna did that. That's the liability there. Oh my God.
I hope that was
was
like
bad.
one of those TV glass things, man. I hope that they knew or something.
Sugar glass thing. Yeah.
I don't know
Uh-huh.
because that it would. I don't even think they realized that was where it was going to go. So it didn't feel
No,
like a produced moment. It felt like it was like a she
no.
was caught out there. Now we're going over to Beverly Hills, but like
Yeah.
it was
Sorry.
just one of those moments where I was like, you know what? And I'm glad to this is why I'm like, I always go back and forth with Larsa because some weeks I'm like, man, you are right, Larsa. You are hitting the nail on the head. And this was one of those
It's
episodes.
rare.
Everything Larsa said, I was like, yup, that's true. The minute you give in to this guy and settle like this, he's always going to have a thumb over you. You're never going to have independence outside of him.
Hmm.
And on the boat, she looked at Lisa and was like, you better not ruin Jody because that'll be your last shot. And Lisa, of course, was like, I got and it's just like,
Larsa just picked the wrong moment to say that because Lisa was at a Mach 10 and she was not coming down. And I know what Larsa was doing. I have been that friend that's been like, oh, you better not, girl. And then it just was like, whoa, Jesus, I wasn't trying to be mean, but I
well, I think
am
Larsa was doing it on purpose to be like, bitch, sit down. Don't be all up here all the time when you literally don't have a home.
yeah,
So like you're walking around. I'm not shading her. I'm just saying
right.
like you should be humbled right now.
Yeah,
There should be a
truly
different side of Lisa Hochstein coming through, and all we're seeing is like this maniac of a
defensive, like,
yeah, like I almost feel like she's not someone you can go to if you have a problem with her,
no, because nothing is her fault.
which is like crazy to me because I'm like, what? How is that going to work? If you never take responsibility and think you did anything wrong, that's insane. So
It's exhausting.
then we
Is what
get
it is.
then Gertie's had it. She's like, I can't do it. She's crying. She's like, look,
Yeah.
I really have real shit going on. And now
Mhm.
you guys keep bringing up this dumb shit. Now you guys are fighting and like trying to go at each other. And then finally, like after several times of Lisa telling all the women to shut the fuck up, Alexia's like, listen, bitch, like
You.
calm the fuck
Yeah.
down. You shut the fuck up. You've been screaming at us the entire time. We're here for you. We feel bad for you. We are on your side, but enough.
Yeah, like, what more do you need from us? We can't it is not d it's a very self-centered way of approaching things. Lisa is not the person that will ask, "How are you?" back whenever someone
Mm-hmm.
asks her.
That's what I meant earlier when I said she makes like
Mhm.
when she's going through something, it doesn't matter if your house is burning down. She's like, but Lenny still won't figure out where we're living. Like it's the
"Well,
wrong.
you've got an extinguisher, right? You're fine. But anyway, Lenny."
Well, remember what happened at Marisol's house when Gertie got up and was like, and by the way, I lied. I have to have another surgery. Lisa's looking up at the producer like, well, why didn't you guys fucking tell me that then? It's not my fault. Like
It
that
almost came
didn't
out of her
say that,
mouth.
but that's the look that was on her face. Like, I was
Oh,
my fault.
It was at the tip of her tongue to say, well, how was I supposed to know that? You know, it was at the tip of her tongue.
She probably said it. They just cut it out.
Yeah.
You guys
I
didn't
mean,
tell me.
it looked that close to coming out of her mouth that there's no way.
Could you imagine filming with someone like that?
Oh my God.
I would literally be a monster. People would not like me because they wouldn't know all the context. So I would just be so mean because it'd be like, enough.
There's no conversation though. It's just a constant monologue. It's like, oh my God. Oh my God. And you know what? Here's the thing. That's the way friendships, relationships work. There are moments where someone is monologuing and someone's listening.
Sure.
There are moments when you're both just going back and forth. It doesn't always have to be a back and forth. Like, that's not what we're saying. What we're saying is it is like a hamster wheel. And Lisa is the little hamster that just does not get tired.
Girl can talk about
And that's
herself.
coming from us.
No, I
That's coming
know,
from
but
us.
she can talk about herself for a long time. I can't sit here and talk about myself for that long.
It gets exhausting.
Yeah, well, I'm sick of hearing about myself after a while. Sometimes when I do these podcasts, I'm like, oh my God, let me get a guest on here so I'm not the only fucking talking to myself into a goddamn screen. But like,
I know that
it's
feeling.
just interesting because it's like, not that I didn't see that all before, but for some reason, this boat ride, it really irked me. And I
It
was just
changed
like,
it.
man, oh man, if I was on that boat, I would be fucking wailing, like screaming, enough, enough. And then
Yeah.
if that's not enough, because Adriana has to go tell the guy, like, can we turn this boat around? Because now Lisa wants off the boat as if they're on a yacht and they're just going to
I
power
want
that
off the
shit up
boat.
and turn it around. It probably took 3 hours for them to go like 50 feet with that stick and 700 people and all the equipment. Now you want off the boat.
It literally reminds me of this story that my mom thinks is hysterical to tell about me, where it also involves me thinking I was helping an animal. So we were like, this is what it reminds me of. And I'll bring it full circle. We were out in like at the country part of Oklahoma where I'd been staying with a friend, and we're driving home and I see this turtle in the middle of the street. And I'm like, oh my God, let me go get the turtle out of the street. I don't want it to get run over. And I pick it up and it starts peeing on me because my dumb bitch ass took it back the way it came from. And so that thing had probably spent all day trying to get across that little fucking dirt road. And now it's like, you
Fucking bitch! I don't want to be here.
And I'm imagining this gondola is like that turtle where the guy's like, we have just made it halfway. Now you want me to fucking turn this motherfucking thing around? What do you think this is on? A swivel wheel? Like, ma'am, do you know how hard it is to turn any type of boat? It doesn't just turn.
No, because I don't drive them, and I would never assume that it would be like a vehicle that you just back out of a parking spot and just say, okay, we're going home.
Certainly not a gondola.
No.
A
Listen,
speedboat,
Jeff
yes.
and I went on a paddle board once when we went to Fort Lauderdale, and it took forever to come back. You know when you've gone where you wanted to go, and now you're like, oh, do I have to do
We're
this all the
over
way
it.
back?
Yep.
It took forever, but like it was fun. I'm just saying, like in that situation, like you can't just be like, I went off the boat. Where are you gonna go? You're gonna hang out with the dogs that you didn't feed? Nonetheless, Larsa tries to bring everything back down and tries to say a prayer, and bratty Lisa's like, nah, not me. I don't.
Not holding Julia's hand.
I'm gonna hold my phone with this ginormous like light on it, so it's always ready to take selfies, and I'm just gonna sit over here and angry text someone else on WhatsApp.
Jody.
Yes. So
Poor Jody.
listen, he must love her.
And have the patience of a saint.
You know what? There's someone for everyone. I truly believe that.
Yeah.
So God bless him, because God only knows how much he gets to talk about himself in the conversations he has with her.
I don't even think she knows his last name at this point.
Who's Jody?
What?
Oh, yes.
That guy.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah, he's great. Anyways, Lenny.
Uh-huh.
So we get to this really creepy part of the boat ride where
Oh
at
my
first I was like,
God.
what is going on here?
Have you ever
So-
seen that online?
No.
The Doll Island? Oh, Jesus. Yeah,
Maybe I have, but I didn't
you
pay it too
probably
much
have.
mind. I think the initial thing that stuck out to me was the fake dummy that was hanging
Yeah.
from a tree from their neck.
Mhm.
That was like, "What are we doing? Where are we going with this?"
Why?
And then the dolls that were all, like, in the trees and, like, whatever. This is where and I hope that she's able to voice this somehow to the women. The only person that I saw that was trying to console her during this time was Marisol, but
Mhm.
Julia was very, very triggered by the baby dolls in the trees. And I'm not gonna go there again because I
No.
don't think I can go
No.
down that path because I will
No.
literally quite lose it. But I lost my shit watching that for her because, oh my gosh, what a day for her.
It it did. You know I love me my Bravo, but it did have me questioning at what point is enough for them to be completely open with everything. At what point can they pull back a little bit for someone and maybe ask some questions on, "Hey, are
Yeah,
you
like
okay?"
yeah, like I
Eh
agree with that. I think there should be someone on these trips, especially because we all know watching these shows, the trips is where most of the drama ensues. That's why they take them so much.
Yeah.
We're at dinner. In this case, it was a boat ride and everyone was having at it at the same time. But nonetheless, I do think there should be some sort of therapist or psychologist or someone that someone can tap out and be like, I need to.
A mental health advocate. Yeah.
Yeah, because that had to have been. Julia does such a good job of coming off like a light breath of fresh air. And then when you unpack what she's been through, it's remarkable, really, that she can still be such a shining light.
Yeah, and she has a way of being very emotionally vulnerable kind of at all times.
Yeah.
And it's not in an overly raw way, like, say, the way Lisa is being right at this moment because of everything. I think that she's yeah. I Let me just say, I think Lisa needs a therapist. Everyone does. That's not me being like, "Oh, she's crazy." No, that's legitimately every single human adult needs to have at least 1 year of therapy, no matter what they've been through, because you never know what might be lying underneath the surface. End of story. I hope Julia has had that, a lot of therapy for, and I hope she started, if she's not in it, that she started it again immediately after this trip.
Well, considering her point, and this got me emotional too, because I mean, animals, dogs specifically, are such angels
Mhm.
in so many ways. So when she said that she leaned into
Mhm.
the dog and then now she has this farm of animals, that's her
Oh,
church. I truly believe that she finds her healing there.
which, like, that
Ah,
makes
I'm
me
gonna get
emotional
emotional again.
too. It just makes it that much more precious, I guess. And it makes me love Martina even more, how she just, "Whatever you want, my love," and just lets her have the goddamn goat in a diaper in the house because Jesus knows she probably would not love to have a goat in a diaper in the house. But it's just, oh,
I think it just draw all the context for me about the farm and how important it
yeah,
was that like she has to have that.
it's just precious.
So
I don't know what other word.
it's she I always loved Julia, but this episode, man, I'm like, I'm almost low
Mhm.
key like, don't fuck with my Julia because I will fly my ass down to Miami and find you hoes.
Same.
I can't tell you how hard that must be for her and how triggering. And this whole day, like I
And
said,
then this
what
airing
in
again.
the hell were y'all doing? Because you know they all know, production wise, knows that that story, everything about. So it's not like no one knew.
That's why
Maybe the
I'm saying
cast
they
doesn't know it in great detail, but production surely did. did we need to go past this part of the do you know what I'm saying?
That's why,
To look
yeah.
a little differently, like, how far, to your point, are we gonna push this to try to
Uh-huh.
get a reaction?
I
Um,
think it was just poor judgment because they thought it would be funny to scare the women. That's my assumption. But how no one stopped and thought
well,
anything.
Marisol, they kept cutting in and out, but Marisol was like, "No, no, 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 guys, this isn't fun for her," but not in the, like, she's scared way, like, this is triggering her.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
Marisol knows in depth what Julia has gone through. Because I think they've talked a lot off camera too, and Marisol's
Mhm.
just like that. She's one that she's someone you can talk to,
She's very
but
spiritual as well
she
and
is, and
spiritually
so I
attuned.
I truly believe in that moment, although they were kind of botching the edit a little bit, Marisol was trying to, like, let everyone know, like, this is not
It's not
meaning
what
well
you
for
think it's
her.
about. Yeah.
Yeah, so, um, yeah, so that was pretty much the episode. They're still on the boat going into the next episode, which I'm like, "Oh, I can't wait to be off this boat." It's giving me anxiety.
Well,
And then we
it's gonna be
have
another 4 hours.
yeah, Adriana is gonna have her performance finally. One thing I will say, and then we'll be done with the recap, is
Mm.
do you remember when they were on the Sprinter van on the way to the boat and they were like, "Oh my gosh, I couldn't imagine singing and dancing. I would just lip sync." And Adriana says, "No, because I want to talk to the fans." Girl, shut up. No caring if you're gonna be talking to them
Your
during your
mic turns on and off. There is a switch. It comes in real handy. Just really make sure you turn it off, Adriana. As
I
if
just want to talk to my fans.
do not try and have us believing that you're not gonna be trying to lip sync because, oh my god. Oh my god.
Miami's hot, hot. I will say though, she
Uh,
puts out some bangers. I will
she
say,
does. I agree.
and for her to have the theme song for the show be her song,
It's
job for life,
brilliant.
brilliant.
Mhm.
She's totally like, she could totally be like the Erica Jane of Miami, like if she went full throttle. She wants to be. You could just tell she loves, even though she can't dance for shit and she really doesn't know how to
I
like.
feel like Erica's a bit more
No, no, no. For sure, they're not
uh,
on the same level. I just meant in
yeah.
terms of like the
How to
fact
word
that
that.
she's not really a singer and dancer.
Yeah.
Erica's better at it because she puts more focus into the rehearsing and the
She's a performer.
yes. Adriana just wants to go on stage and put the costume on, but she's not necessarily like in sync with
And
the
try and
dancers and
swivel her
doesn't know how
hips.
to interact with people on stage. So it'll be interesting to watch her show. But
She does the Ramona hip swivel.
yes. Yeah, she was doing a lot of that in the rehearsals, which is why Kiki was like,
Girl.
that was not great. Because at the end, they were like, great job. We'll see you tomorrow. And she's like, no, you still need to
Yeah,
practice.
you got another 3 hours, honey. At least. Then that's just tonight.
Absolutely. But yeah, so if you could rate this episode out of 10, what would you give it?
Oh man. We're going like a solid 9.8. The only decimal that is removed is because I feel like it was a little more than should have been. I feel like there should have been a lot more respect toward Julia's emotional state.
I agree.
I feel like it was kind of unfairly glossed over, but I'm glad she was able to get her moment to speak on it in confessionals. But it's hard because I liked how we were almost ending on a high note. And then it was like, no, and I have a feeling something is coming up with Julia, which is why.
I do
What
too.
about you? What would you rate it?
I would say definitely 9.5 out of 10. I also deducted because of the sensitivity around Julia's trauma. And I just felt like they pushed it a little too far at the end with that
Mhm.
whole baby doll in the trees situation. It was a little unnecessary.
Agreed.
There's plenty of other things I'm sure in Mexico City that would scare the ladies that don't involve babies looking dead on a tree.
Right.
Um,
Say the least.
but it was a fantastic. This season is really knocking it out of the park.
Yeah.
am glad more and more people are starting to jump on the train of Miami and give it a chance. I'm glad we're getting more of the cast on Watch What Happens Live because that was weird for
Yeah.
a minute. I was like, why aren't we promoting this?
Mhm.
But thank you so much, Caitlin, for jumping on
Oh.
and doing the recap with me. Tell everyone where they can find you.
Yes, thank you for having me. Of course, I am at Besties by Caitlin, and that's Caitlin on Instagram and on TikTok. And I'm on YouTube with my podcast that is Besties by Bravo, where Giorgio joins me weekly on Thursdays. We're covering Vanderpump Rules right now.
So exciting. Yes, you'll need to
Mhm.
check out that episode. We did recap the premiere episode of Vanderpump Rules season 11, so make sure you check that out.
Mhm.
Um, but I think we're pretty much done here. So thank you guys for listening always. Thanks for all the support. And until the next episode, guys, we will talk to you next time. Bye.
Bye.